what do you think are some important lessons that, like, I love what you said a minute ago. You're trying to empower people and teach from your journey. And uh, to me, immediately when you said that, I think of the old cliche phrase: "Smart man learns from his mistakes, and a wise man learns from the mistakes of others." Right. So I try to do that too. I try to not repeat mistakes by learning from really smart people like you. What are some big lessons in that journey that other people can take away so they don't
So
make some of those mistakes?
that is a great question. I've always viewed myself as a pretty good student, a very smart, astute person. I'm quick, I'm attentive, and and I feel like I can do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot of business owners that share that sentiment. And that's one of the things, that boldness is one of the things that helps us get started in business. And in doing so, I'm like, I don't need anybody's help. I can figure this out. I can do it better than that. I can beat them. I can win. And so what helps us get launched in business, or what helped me get launched in business, and what I see helps get a lot of others launched in business, soon becomes a limiting factor
Yeah.
because we're closed-minded. And now, again, when I started my business, the internet was in its infancy. Most
Mm-hmm.
companies didn't even have a website.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know I'm dating myself, but there was no Facebook. There were no social media networks. So I didn't really connect with anybody. I kept my nose to the grindstone,
Mm-hmm.
and I did the best I knew how. I paid the price of stupidity, of ignorance, of mistakes. And thank God I was able to overcome that.
Mm-hmm.
But what I thought I was smart, but in retrospect, I was working dumb.
Yeah.
Because why should I go why should I go and chisel out a brand new wheel out of bedrock when there's already like a wheel store that says, here's wheels for your truck and your car. And so I'm like, why do I need to
Yeah.
go reinvent the wheel? That's dumb. That's impeding my own progress.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't I go find the pieces of my business? The magic is not inventing in every piece of your business. The magic is getting the great ingredients and putting them together in your recipe. That's the magic.
It's an analogy I use a lot actually too. When I'm trying to, like, when I'm in an advisory capacity with like my clients or something, I was like, imagine if you're in a kitchen, you're in one of those kitchen shows, and you got Gordon Ramsay over here, and you're right here. You both have the exact same ingredients. You have the same utensils and everything. It's not the ingredients that matter; it's the recipe that matters. And to a degree, I'm not saying bad ingredients, but if we all have the same playing field, we all have the same tools, we have the same CRMs, we have the same marketing systems available, we can all do the same thing. So it becomes the recipe that really is a limiting factor, I think.
100%. Can I share a personal story?
I'd love it.
Mike, and I see this in so many other small business owners. After I started my business, again, I had a lot of energy. I was an Energizer bunny. I could work 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I did.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of a sudden my business is launched. I'm flying. I paid off my debt. The wife got a new SUV. The kids had new shoes, and there was dinner on the table every night.
Mm-hmm.
So they're financially, things were working. But I got to this point where, wow, I mean, I have to keep running. I have to keep doing this. And I began to feel like the mouse on the wheel running inside the cage. And eventually I'm like, wow, the wheel is still turning, but the mouse is dead running around. And so I ended up building my own prison. And I call it either,
That's common.
when I'm talking to contractors, I call it contractor prison.
Yeah.
When I'm talking to other small business owners, I call it small business prison.
Mm-hmm.
That what all of my dreams of what I wanted to create, I created it, but then all of a sudden it became a prison because there was no time off for Jason.
Mm-hmm.
Jason had that payroll to pay every week, those bills to pay, and it all depended on me. I had become this super producer because all of the systems that I made
on you.
relied on me.
Yeah.
It was a house of cards.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ended up in what I refer to as small business prison or contractor prison. And the tough thing was, I would so often I would be I would work late, okay? And there was this one night in particular that was a momentous, pivotal time in my life. I'm working one late, and I can see, if I close my eyes, I can still see it. I'm sitting there with my keyboard in front of me, my computer with my huge 17-inch screen back in the day.
You are dating yourself now.
CRT for sure.
Yes, sir.
And I'm working on, it's after midnight. My office was in my dining room at my house. I had 2 children at this point, and my wife was pregnant with our third, which was a son. I had 2 daughters, and one was like 5, and the other was 2, and my wife was pregnant with our son. And it's after midnight, and I go to get my dinner. The wife and kids are in bed. The house is quiet. I go in, and we've got a built-in microwave. I open the door, and I pull out my plate with my dinner on it. It's got a little paper towel over it.
Yeah.
Cold leftovers.
Yeah.
Okay. And so anyways, I go, I heat them up, and I eat, and I go back, and I'm working at my computer again. And I've got a radio playing on my desk, on the corner of my desk. And I'm working, I think I'm doing payroll at this point. I don't remember exactly what I was doing, but I was working on the computer. And this song comes on the radio. And then, it goes ding, 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 ding. And it says, my boy arrived just the other day.
Oh, I know that
came
song.
to the world in the usual way, but there were planes to catch and bills to pay. He learned to walk while I was away. And if you know that song, that's the Cats in the Cradle.
Yep.
And it tells the story about a man who keeps telling his son he doesn't have time for him because he has planes to catch, bills to pay, and things to do. He has work. Okay. And as this song is on, it's reading my mail. It's me. And just like I had a little while ago gotten my cold leftovers out of the microwave, my business was getting the best of me, and my family was getting my cold leftovers.
Ooh, that's powerful.
And this was the eye-opening part of it. I was letting it happen. It was my fault.
Yeah.
And so I've got tears, Micah, streaming down my face. And I'm filled with sadness and regret for just a moment. And then all of a sudden it turns to righteous indignation. And I slammed my hand on the desk, and I just threw my hands up, and I said, God, I need your help. Something has to change. And I kid you not, God answered my prayer. At that moment, I saw 3 options in front of me. And the first option was, well, I could quit. If I quit, who loses? They do. My wife, my children, they lose. Wasn't going to happen. The second option was, well, I could pull back and not work so much, and I could make less, but give them more time. Okay, that was an option. But I'm like, personally, I'm an achiever. And I'm like, no, I would lose my manhood. And it just didn't feel right to me. I'm like, I can't do that. There's got to be a better option. Option A and B. No, I'm not going to take the fool's choice. I want option C. What's option C? Option C was, well, you can build a team. Everybody can shoulder the load, and everybody can have a better future.
Yeah.
And I chose the third option.
I love that.
And that's when my life changed. That is when my life changed. And I see so many small business owners that are pouring their life in to their business because you don't really know how to pray until you've got payroll to make. I talked to a pastor once. He told me, he's like, when I was a pastor, he said, I thought I knew how to pray. Bless Susie and bless Jerry over here. He said, but when I started a business and I had payroll to make, he said, I learned to pray on a whole new level. And I can relate to that, Micah. And so there's this burden you feel, not just for your family. You care about the people that are depending on you running a good company. And so I felt this burden, and I'm like, something's got to be better. So that was a moment that changed my life, and I decided to build a team. That means I needed to grow as a leader. I needed to learn new things. Well, guess what? I wasn't equipped with leadership skills. Gosh, I didn't even have business skills at that time. And I was playing a game that I wasn't even equipped to play. I knew how to sell and market, and I knew basics about painting. I didn't actually do any painting. I had the crew that did the painting. I could tell you when he wasn't doing it right. But had I ever cleaned out have I ever cleaned out a GM 5000, or any of those Graco machines? Or no, I haven't. The only time I've even held a spray gun in my hand is when I was on a few years ago. I was on this TV show, and they're like, "Hey, Jason, get on the ladder, and we want to see you spray." I'm like, "I don't paint. I've never painted. I don't have those skills." Like, we need it for the TV show. Okay, I'm like, Rodrigo, give me that spray gun. I climbed up the ladder and like spraying with it,
great.
right? But so I'm not the craftsman guy.
Yeah.
But I was playing a game I wasn't really equipped to play. I knew how to get our widget delivered, our service delivered. And I see so many people, regardless of whether in, home services or home improvements or remodeling, whatever, you get to this point where you can do the basics, but now you need to think about real marketing. It's not just about referrals anymore. How about having a real sales system?
Have you heard of a concept called the Peter Principle?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that Peter Principle, although that's a management principle in corporate, it applies to contracting. And that is really the premise of
it started in corporate,
freedom.
but it really applies to anybody. And I mean, and I'm probably going to butcher it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's basically the principle of like people will continue to rise up a promotion ladder essentially until they fall short of the skills required for that. And like commonly you'll have like let's say you take someone that's a great painter and then all of a sudden they become a crew lead. And then maybe they're okay at that, maybe they're not. Then maybe they become like in charge of like 20 crews. Now all of a sudden maybe their skills starts breaking down because their management skills across a bunch of people maybe aren't as strong. And so the skills of one position are not necessarily the same skills in another. And that's effectively that principle talks about. That sounds like what you're talking about, because you had to learn new skills now all of a sudden.
That's exactly why business owners end up in prison.
Mm-hmm.
Is the Peter Principle. I've actually written an article on that.
I love it. I want to read it.
And so you end up there again. You're playing a game you're not equipped to play. And in corporate it's the idea that managers get promoted to they're finally at the point where they're in a position that's above their skill level.
Yeah.
And then they fail
because of that, right?
Not only do they fail, but now they won't hire people under them that might threaten their safety and their stability. This person's better than me, so I am not going to bring them or promote them.
Get them
so
close
then you
to
end
my
up with an
ranks
entire team of people. It's cascaded,
right?
Because it's fear of being supplanted in your own position.
Yeah.
But it applies to this. And the simple answer is become a student, open your mind, connect with people, learn something new, and you can go there. But it starts with recognizing that, we talked about the Dunning-Kruger effect earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I don't know everything. One of the things that you'll notice about people that you and I would consider experts in a field, what they realize and recognize is that how much they don't know.
I think that's incredibly, for me, it was humbling. And we talked about this before we started the podcast. I was telling you, like in my early 20s, I was just unbelievably arrogant. Unbelievable. Like the person you're talking to today is just not the same person. I thought I knew everything. I thought I could beat everyone. I thought I was better than everyone. Just absolute through and through arrogance. And I had a few very, very humbling things in my 20s that we don't have time to go through today. We'll save that for another day. But a couple like basically gut checks. It was like, oh, no, I'm not that smart. Oh, no, I'm not that good. And they were really kind of like, oh man, I really need to change here. And that kind of realized that out. And then I heard about that Dunning-Kruger effect. I was like, dude, I was that guy. I really was that guy. And I committed to myself at that point. I just want to be a student. Like from here on, I always want to learn. I never want to enter a situation, even with somewhere where I might be considered to be the expert over somebody else. I still have something to learn from them, and they have something to learn from me. And I think if you enter a situation like that, where you're always willing to learn from everybody you're around, I think that is the way to go. Hey, if you like this podcast, please follow and share. If you're looking for help growing your contracting business, I invite you to join my free community where we go live, share all sorts of tips and resources and free trainings. Plus, you get help from me, my team, and from peers. The link for that group is down below, and we'll see you next time.